At the beginning of the movie, a religious extremist named Margaret gives birth to a baby girl all alone in her apartment. She intends to kill the baby, but at the last moment changes her mind. Years later, that baby girl has grown into a socially awkward and shy teenage girl, Carrie White, who's about to graduate from high school. Although her teachers encourage her to participate in many different activities, she never seems to perform well at anything and is often bullied by other students. One day, while having a shower after gym class, Carrie gets her first period. Not knowing what is happening to her, she runs out of the bathroom while screaming for help, afraid she's going to bleed to death. But instead of helping her, her classmate Chris and her friends tease her and start throwing pads and tampons at her, while Chris records the embarrassing situation on video. Her PE teacher, Rita Desjardins, soon arrives at the scene and tries to comfort a panicking Carrie, but does not understand what's happening. As Carrie becomes more distraught, suddenly the bathroom lights break off, but no one pays much attention to it. Later, while providing counseling in her office, Desjardins and the principal discuss calling her mother to pick her up, but Carrie gets upset and storms out, unaware of the unusual effects of her anger. While heading home with her mother, Carrie questions her for keeping her in the dark, but Margaret brushes it off. Once inside, Carrie finds her mom banging her head against the wall, as she thinks Carrie's period is a curse and scolds her for taking a shower with the other girls. When Carrie refuses to listen, Margaret hits her over the head with a Bible and locks her in the prayer closet, demanding she pray for forgiveness. Carrie panics and starts furiously banging at the door. Suddenly, a crack appears in the door while blood flows from the crucifix. Carrie becomes aware of her telekinetic powers. One of Carrie's classmates, Sue Snell, feels regret for bullying her. Her boyfriend, Tommy Ross, suggests apologizing to her. Meanwhile, Chris and her friends Bill and Tina post the embarrassing video of Carrie online. The next day, Desjardins scolds the girls for messing with Carrie and posting the video online. The girls are forced to bear a boot camp-style punishment or else lose their prom privileges. All the girls accept the punishment, that is except for Chris, who refuses to do it, and as a result, is banned from attending the prom. Chris becomes furious with Desjardins' decision and asks the other girls to support her, but no one stands with her. The next morning, Carrie's mother drops her off at school, but Carrie finds out everyone is talking about her and is subjected to even more bullying. Carrie has now learned about her telekinetic powers after being locked in the closet and experiments on the bathroom mirror, becoming overwhelmed by her powers. She starts researching it through books and online videos and practices it on different things to manifest her powers. In the next class, she is asked to read her favorite poem, but when she does, everyone, even the teacher, makes fun of her. Tommy does not like this and feels sorry for Carrie, sparking an idea in Sue's mind on how to make up for what they did. Later, Sue's mother picks up her dress from Margaret, who's a tailor, and apologizes for what Sue did to Carrie. Margaret is upset, but instead of saying anything, she hurts herself in anger. The next day, Chris brings her father to the school to protest against Desjardins' decision. Her father then asks the principal to restore her prom privileges as he believes his daughter didn't do anything. Desjardins agrees to do it, but only if Chris shows her phone to prove she did not record Carrie's video. But when she refuses to do it, she faces suspension. Not long after, she comes over to her friends and argues with Sue for not supporting her, but Sue thinks they deserve the punishment for what they did. Chris gets angry with her and says Sue does not care about Carrie and just wants to have the perfect prom night, but Sue ignores her claims. Meanwhile, Carrie keeps on learning and practicing her powers, but doesn't want her mother to know about them, so she hides it from her. Sue can't stop thinking about Carrie and asks Tommy to take her to the prom in order to fix her mistake. Although he dislikes the idea, he agrees to do it for Sue. He asks Carrie out, but she gets upset thinking they're planning another prank on her. As she thinks about it, Desjardins once again steps in to help her out. Carrie tells her about her concerns about Tommy, that he might be trying to trick her, but she assures her it won't happen this time and she should go and have fun with him. After some convincing, she goes to talk to Tommy and Sue and warns them not to mess with Carrie again. After school, Tommy shows up at Carrie's house and insists on taking her to prom, and Carrie agrees to go with him. She gets excited about going to the prom and starts shopping, but Chris and her friends spot her and start talking about how ridiculous she and Tommy will look together. Carrie comes back home later than usual and finds her mother worried about her absence. Carrie apologizes for being late and explains that she was shopping, but Margaret tells her she's not allowed to go anywhere else but school. Carrie then tells her about being invited to the prom, which upsets her. She tries to convince her not to go, saying everyone thinks of her as an outsider, but she wants to be normal just like her classmates, so she agreed to go with Tommy. Margaret tries her best to stop her by saying he will eventually hurt her or take advantage of her, but Carrie defends him, saying he is a nice guy. Margaret thinks it's a sin and again asks her to go back to the prayer closet, but Carrie gets frustrated. As a result, her powers fly out of control and she hurts her mother, who is shocked to see this. Although Carrie tries to explain it, Margaret is convinced it is the work of the devil. Carrie brushes off her mother and announces she is going to prom with Tommy. The night before prom, Chris and her friends make a plan to prank Carrie using pig's blood. Meanwhile, Carrie stitches her dress while Sue packs hers away as she doesn't need it. The next day, while getting ready for prom, everyone talks about the unusual coupling of Carrie White and Tommy Ross. Carrie gets ready to go, but her mother criticizes her dress and asks her to burn it and ask for forgiveness. She also asks her to call Tommy and refuse to go, but Carrie disobeys. Margaret starts slapping herself, but Carrie stops her, saying it won't make her stay. As Carrie waits for Tommy, Margaret says he won't show up and everyone will laugh at her. But before she can say anything else, he arrives to pick Carrie up. As her mother once again tries to stop her leaving, Carrie becomes angry and leaves after locking her mother in the prayer closet. She gets a bit nervous about going inside, but Tommy makes her feel comfortable and escorts her to the school. They go inside where Tommy introduces her to his best friend, George, and his girlfriend, Erica, who starts talking to her and admires her dress, while Carrie notices everyone from the class is judging her. She sits alone at a corner table when Desjardins spots her and comes over to talk to her, while Tommy messages Sue telling her about Carrie. He comes back to the table and invites her to dance, which she reluctantly agrees to do. While enjoying her time with Tommy, she becomes suspicious about him and asks why he brought her instead of Sue, but he satisfies her by saying he wanted to come with her. Meanwhile, her mother tries to unlock the door by forcing her arm through the crack, but it does not work as Carrie has already sealed the lock. Back at the prom, it is time to vote for prom king and queen. Carrie is surprised to see her name on the list, but Tommy says they will look great together receiving their awards and encourages her to vote. Meanwhile, Chris prepares to execute her plan and sends a message to Sue hinting about pranking Carrie again. Chris's friends cleverly change the balance while Sue rushes to the school to warn Carrie. Sue arrives just as Carrie and Tommy are invited to the stage to be crowned prom king and queen. Chris starts having second thoughts about her plan, but Bill does not let her stop. Sue arrives in the hall and spots a bucket right over Carrie and Tommy's heads, but before she could warn them, Desjardins spots her and locks her out of the hall, assuming she is planning another prank on Carrie. Tommy and Carrie receive their bouquet, but Chris releases the bucket, pouring blood all over them, while their friends play her old video from the bathroom and everyone laughs at her. As Bill and Chris run away after tucking the ropes, Desjardins tries to warn Carrie, but she throws her away in anger, and Tommy gets hit by the bucket and dies. Enraged by Tommy's death, Carrie takes revenge, attacking everyone, only saving Desjardins. Electric cables fuse with water during the chaos, and the school burns to the ground while Carrie leaves the building. Outside, Carrie spots Chris and Bill trying to escape and goes after them. Chris gets worried and tries to call her father, but Bill stops her and says they should leave town and never come back. However, Carrie uses her powers to force them to return. Chris spots her and asks Bill to run her over, but Carrie stops the car, causing an accident that kills Bill. Chris once again tries to hurt her, but Carrie throws the car to the gas station, setting it on fire and killing Chris. Carrie is scared by what happened and rushes back home, but finds Margaret has escaped. After taking a shower, she spots her mother standing in her room and runs towards her, saying she was right and that everyone laughed at her. While embracing her, Margaret tells her about her conception and that she and her husband fell into temptation one night and he took her, but she is guilty for enjoying it. She says she should have given her to God when she was born, but she was weak and could not do it. She then asks Carrie to pray with her, and when she does, Margaret stabs her in the back so the devil cannot possess her again. Carrie is angry and pushes her away. She chases her downstairs and starts stabbing her, but Carrie attacks her with several sharp tools. She regrets her action immediately and apologizes to her mom. Then Sue arrives to offer help, but Carrie tells her to leave, saying it all happened because of her. As the house starts collapsing from Carrie's anger, she furiously lifts Sue, but senses that she is pregnant with a baby girl. She then throws Sue out of the house to safety as her anger causes stones to rain down from the sky, crushing the house, killing both Carrie and her mother. Sometime later, Sue arrives at Carrie's grave, where someone is painted on the tombstone, "Carrie White burns in hell," and leaves a white rose for her. Later, Sue gives birth to a baby girl, but still experiences nightmares about Carrie. That was all from the video.